Hi, everybody. Today we're going to keep reading about in the same book that started reading. Hold on, give me a second. And it's the Little Prince. This time this part is gonna be in English. Okay. Remember my Little Prince made out of clay, my model. Okay, good. Remember we read chapter 3 and the last part of chapter 3. The Little Prince was telling the man that how small his planet was, right? It was so small that he can walk around in one day. Well, let's keep reading in chapter 4. That was how I learned a second very important thing, which was that the planet he came from was hardly bigger than a house. That couldn't surprise me much. I knew very well that, except for the huge planets like Earth, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which have been given names, there are hundreds of others that are sometimes so small that it is very difficult to see them through a telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of them, he gives it a number instead of a name. For instance, he would call it asteroid 325. I have serious reasons to believe that the planet the Little Prince came from is asteroid B612. This asteroid has been sighted only once by a telescope in 1909 by a Turkish astronomer who had then made a formal demonstration of his discovery at an international astronomical congress. But no one had believed him on account of the way that he was dressed. Grow ups are like that. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid B612, a Turkish dictator ordered his people, on pain of death, to wear European clothes. The astronomer repeated his demonstration in 1920 wearing a very elegant suit, and this time everyone believed him. See, this is how he presented the first time dressed on his country's clothes, and nobody believed him. And then this is the second time when he presented like dressed like an European, and everybody believed him. If I told you these details about asteroid B612, and if I given you its number, it is on account of the grown-ups. Grown up like numbers. Grown up like numbers. When you tell them about a new friend, they never ask you questions about what really matters. They never ask, what does his voice sound like? What game does he like best? Does he collect butterflies? They ask, how old is he? How many brothers does he have? How much does he weigh? How much money does his father make? Only then do they think they know him. If you tell grown-ups, I saw a beautiful brick house with geraniums on the windows and those on the roof, they won't be able to imagine such a house. You have to tell them, I saw a house worth $100,000. Then they exclaim, oh, what a beautiful house. See, this is a picture of the Little Prince and asteroid B612. That's what I think. See how small it was? So if you tell them the proof of the Little Prince existing is that he was delightful, that he laughed, and that he wanted it cheap, when someone wants a cheap, that proves he exists. They shrug their shoulders and they treat you like a child. But if you tell them the planet he came from is asteroid B612, then they will be convinced and they won't bother you with their questions. That's the way they are. You must not hold against them. Children should be very understanding of grown ups. But of course, those of us who understand life could care less about numbers. I should have liked to begin this story like a fairy tale. I should have liked the story to say, once upon a time there was a little prince who lived on a planet hardly any bigger than he was, and who needed a friend. For those who understand life, that would sound much truer. The fact is, I do not want my book to be taken lightly. Telling these memories is so painful for me. It has already been 6 years since my friend went away, taking his chip with him. If I try to describe him here, it is so I won't forget him. It is sad to forget a friend. Not everyone has a friend. And I might become like a grown ups who are no longer interested in anything but numbers. Not every okay, which is still another reason why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. It is hard to go back to drawing at my age, when you never made any attempts since the one of a boa from inside and the one of a boa from outside at the age of 6. I will certainly try to make my portraits as true to life as possible, but I'm not entirely sure of succeeding. One drawing works, and the next one no longer bears my resemblance, and I a little off on his eye too. In this one, the little prince is too tall, and here is too short, and I'm uncertain about the color of his suit. So I grow up in one direction and another as best I can. In the end, I'm sure to get certain more important details all wrong. But here you have to forgive me. My friend never explained anything. Perhaps he thought I was like himself, but I, unfortunately, cannot see a chip through the size of a crate. I may be a little like the grown ups. I must have grown old. We're going to go in chapter 5. Every day I learned something about the little princess planet, about his departure, about his journey. It will come quite gradually in the course of his remarks. This was how I learned on the third day about the drama of the Baobabs. This time, too, I had the chip to think, for suddenly the little prince asked me a question, as if overcome my grave doubt. It isn't true that sheep eat bushes? Yes, that's right. Oh, I'm glad. I didn't understand why it was so important that a sheep should eat bushes, but the little prince added, and therefore they eat baboats too. I pointed out to the little prince that baobats are not bushes, but trees as tall as churches, and that even if he took a whole herd of elephants back to his planet, that herd couldn't finish off a single baobab. The idea of the herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. We had to pile them on top of one another, but he observed perceptibly. Before they grow big, baobabs start out by being little. True enough, but why don't you want your sheep to eat little baobabs? He answered, oh, come on, as if we were talking about something quite obvious. And I was forced to make a great mental effort to understand this problem all by myself. And in fact, on the Little Prince planet, there were, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. The good plants come from good seeds, and the bad plants from bad seeds. But the seeds are invisible. They sleep in the secrecy of the ground until one of them decides to wake up. Then it stretches and begins to sprout, quite timidly at first, and charming, harmless, little weed reaching towards the sun. If it is a radish seed or a rosebush seed, you can let it sprout all it likes. But if it's the seed of a bad plant, you must pull the plant out right away as soon as you can recognize it. As it happens, there were terrible seeds on the Little Prince planet, Baobab seeds. This is what the Little Prince imagined when he says we can send a herd of elephants and eat them. But look, he said, well, we're going to have to pile them on top of each other. That's what he would mean. That's what he mean. The planet soil was infected with them. Now, if you attend to a baobab too late, you can never get rid of it again. It overgrows the whole planet. Its roots pierce right through. If the planet is too small and there are too many baobabs, they make it burst into pieces. It is a question of discipline, the little prince told me later on. When you finish washing and dressing each morning, you must stain your planet. You must be sure you pull up the baboha regularly as soon as you can tell them apart from the rose bushes, which they closely resemble when they are very young. It is very tedious work, but very easy. And one day he advised me to do my best to make a beautiful drawing for the edification of the children where I live. If they travel someday, he told me, it could be useful to them. Sometimes there is no harm in postponing your work until later, but with baobabs, it is always a catastrophe. I knew one planet that was inhabited by a lazy man. He had neglected 3 bushes. So, following the little print instructions, I had drawn the planet. I don't much like assuming the tone of a moralist, but the danger of baobab is so little recognized, and the risks run anyone who might get lost on an asteroid are so considerable that for once I am making an exception to my habitual reserve. I say, I say, children, watch out for bahobas. It is to warn my friends. It is to warn my friends of danger of which they, like myself, have long been unaware that I work so hard on this drawing. The lesson I'm teaching is worth the trouble. You may be asking, why are there no other drawings in this book as big as the drawing of the bahobas? There is a simple answer. I tried, but I couldn't manage it. When I drew the bahobas, I was inspired by a sense of urgency. See, these are the three bahobas that grew in this planet because they didn't pull the seeds on time or the bushes on time, and the three bahobas overeat the whole planet. That's a beautiful drawing. Chapter 6. Oh, little prince, gradually this was how I came to understand your sad little life. For a long time, your only entertainment was the pleasure of sunsets. I learned this new detail on the morning of the fourth day when you told me, I really like sunsets. Let's go look at one now. But we have to wait. What for? For the sun to set. At first, you seemed quite surprised, and then you laugh at yourself, and you say to me, I think I'm still at home. Indeed, when it is noon in the United States, the sun, as everyone knows, is setting over France. If you could fly to France in 1 minute, you could watch the sunset. Unfortunately, France is much too far. But on your tiny planet, all you have to do was move your chair a few feet, and you will watch the twilight whenever you wanted to. One day I saw the sunset 44 times, and a little later you added, you know, when you're feeling very sad, sunsets are wonderful. On the day of the 44 times, were you feeling very sad? But the little prince didn't answer. On chapter 7, let me see if I can read chapter 7. Yeah, we can do that. On the fifth day, thanks again to the chief, another secret of the little prince's life was revealed to me. Abruptly, with no preamble, he asked me, as if it were the fruit of a problem long pondered in silence, if a sheep eats bushes, doesn't eat flowers too? A sheep eats flower whatever a sheep eats whatever he finds, even flowers that have thorns. Yes, even flowers that have thorns. Then, what good are thorns? I didn't know. At that moment, I was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that was jammed in my engine. I was quite worried, for my plane crash was beginning to seem extremely serious, and the lack of drinking water made me fear the worst. What good are thorns? The little prince never let go of a question on what he had asked it. It was annoying by my jam bolt, and I answered without thinking. Thorns are not good for anything. They just flowers' way of being mean. Oh, but after a silence, he lashed out at me with a sort of bitterness. I don't believe you. Flowers are weak. They're naive. They reassure themselves whatever way they can. They believe their thorns make them frightened. I made no answer. At that moment, I was thinking, if his balls stay jammed, I will knock it off with a hammer. Again, the little prince disturbed my reflections. Then you think flowers? No, not at all. I don't think anything. I just say whatever came into my head. I'm busy here with something serious. He stared at me, astounded. Something serious? He saw me holding my hammer, my fingers black with grease, bending over an object that he regarded as very ugly. You talk like the grown-ups. That made me a little ashamed, but he added mercilessly. You confuse everything. You got it all mixed. He was really very annoying. He tossed his golden curls in the wind. I know a planet inhabited by a red-faced gentleman. He never smelled a flower. He never looked at a star. He never loved anyone. He never done anything except add numbers. And all day long he says over and over, just like you, I'm a serious man, I'm a serious man. And that puffed him up with pride. But he's not a man at all. He's a mushroom. He is what? A mushroom. The little prince was now quite pale with rage. For millions of years, flowers have been producing thorns. For millions of years, sheep have been eating them all the same. And it's not serious trying to understand why flowers got such a trouble to produce thorns that are good for nothing. It is not important the war between the sheep and the flowers. It is no more serious and more important than the numbers that fat red gentleman is adding up. Suppose I happen to know a unique flower, one that exists nowhere in the world except on my planet, one that the little sheep can wipe up in a single bite one morning, just like that, without even realizing what he's doing. That isn't important? His face turned red now, and he went on. If someone loves a flower, of which just one example exists among all the millions and millions of stars, that's enough to make him happy when he looks at the star. He tells himself, my flower is up there somewhere, but if the chick is the flower, then for him it's as if suddenly all the stars went out. And that isn't important? He couldn't say another word. All of a sudden he burst out sobbing. Night had fallen. I dropped my tools. What did I care about my hammer, about my bolt, about the earth and it? There's one and one star on one planet, on mine, the earth, a little prince to be consoled. I took him in my arms. I rocked him. I told him, the flower you love is not in danger. I will draw you a muzzle for your cheek. I will draw you a fence for your flower. I I didn't know what to say, how clumsy I felt. I didn't know how to reach him, where to find him. It is so mysterious, the land of tears. Well, we're going to read these 3 chapters, and sometime this week, I will post another video, also with a real out, with 3 more chapters of Little Prince. So far, so good. Okay? So, bye from the Little Prince right here, and I hope to see you soon. Remember, stay calm, stay safe, listen to your parents, and above all, stay healthy. Hop.